I'm happy to do that. What we have developed is an interactive exercise just to get you looking at different resources. What we found from our in-person workshops, all the ResDAC workshops used to be in person before COVID. So if you can even imagine that. And one of the things that we found was that participants really benefited from sitting around a table with other researchers, talking through some of the issues that arise when they're trying to look at the data. So we wanted to replicate that here, and that's one of the reasons that we've tried to keep our virtual workshops just a little bit smaller. So we're just going to give you a chance to kind of practice with some of the things that we've been talking about. And we're going to do that via breakout rooms. So this will give you a chance. There'll be small groups of approximately 10. You don't have to join the breakout room if you don't want to. So what will happen when I open the breakout rooms is you will be asked if you want to join. And if you do join, you'll get whisked to a new screen where the room will be limited to you and a few other participants. You can communicate as you like. You know, you can use chat, audio, video. I think a lot of people really like to do the audio and video together, but if you're not one of those people, that's okay too. You can leave the room at any time, and you can also ask for help, and someone can join your group to help talk through things. The materials can be found on that page. Let me see if I can drop the link into the chat again. So this is our Canvas page that you would access using your registration username, which is likely your full email address and password. And when you click over to that, under segment 5, you'll find an exercise. So the first thing that I'm going to have you do is actually just go to the breakout room, get acquainted with the people that are there, make sure you can find the exercise if you need it. We'll just do that for, I'll say 10 minutes, and then we'll come back together and talk about the exercise itself, if that works. So just give you a chance to get to know each other. You know, you can do just a quick introduction. Who are you, where are you from? Have you used this data before? That should read Medicaid data, I apologize. And then make sure you're able to open the document. And again, if you decide it's not for you, feel free to leave the room if you need to. And so I will go ahead and open the breakout room. I guess first I should ask, are there any questions about that? If you decide to stay in the main room, you'll just, we'll be kind of quiet in the main room for the next 10 minutes. And then when it comes time to do the exercise, you can just do that on your own. So, all right, if there are no questions, then I will open up the breakout rooms. All right, so I think everyone is being whisked back to the main room now. How did it go? Anybody in the chat or thumbs up? Hard to see everybody, but.
It was so quick.
All right, good.
We were just trying to maneuver about this on how to get to the pages.
Is it hard to get to the pages with the, I know it's hard when you have your Zoom screen and then you have other pages that you're trying to get to. So the good news is you're going back to with those groups. So if you didn't quite finish up your introductions or chatting, you can certainly do that. The exercise that we're going to do will be looking at this. So this is a real simple question, right? What is the effect of Medicaid expansion? I sort of chose Louisiana as a a state of convenience because they expanded their Medicaid program on July 1st, 2016. So it was within the TAF time period. So we've got a few links there on that document. And so you can click into those and kind of see how you might answer some of these questions. So, would you be wanting to use Max or would you be wanting to use TAF data alone or Max plus TAF? If you were interested in median Medicaid spending per beneficiary, how might you use the DQ Atlas to assess whether or not this is a good idea or that you'll be able to do it? If you wanted to report this median Medicaid spending by eligibility category or age and race, can you find those in the DQ Atlas? And then maybe start exploring the managed care enrollment question that we've been talking about. So I'll give you a chance to go back with your groups and kind of talk through some of these issues. I apologize. I know that it is difficult to kind of toggle between screens. So I think, you might be able to, within your group, kind of have one person that can maybe read things out for you, or I'll leave that up to you, but and then we'll come back together and talk about it. For this, I'm going to give you more time. I'll give you 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and have about 15 minutes for discussion, a little less than that, but all right. So, and one of the questions was, are we just looking at Louisiana? I had kind of picked that, but you certainly can explore other states if you want to, and that would be, good for discussion. You could tell us if you had assessed different states, if you found anything different. So feel free to do that. And this will be, this is exercise 5, and this is actually, I don't have them numbered on my slide, I apologize, but this is actually all of the questions on that exercise, segment 5 exercise document. Let me bring that up just so you can see what I'm talking about in case you didn't have a chance to download it. So switching the screen sharing. Are you able to see my screen? Mm-hmm. So this will be kind of going through each of the questions. I know it's kind of a quick pace, but hopefully this will just wet your whistle so you'll be able to do more as you go. But so I'll have you head to the breakout rooms now. All right, I think everyone is back in the main room. How did it go this time? I suspect there maybe was not quite enough time for this either.
No, this is great though. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, good. I'm glad. So let's talk a little bit about what we discovered as we were going through the exercise. So did anyone find anything in the max TAF data availability matrix? Are you all able to see that on my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And feel free, you can answer in the chat or feel free to talk as well. So we were looking at the state of Louisiana, and we were specifically interested in their change from max to TAF to in 2016. We have the first date of data submission in October of 2015. So we have max T data here, and we have TAF data in 2016, and they expanded their Medicaid program in in July of 2016. So what did people think? Do you think you're going to need to combine some files?
Yeah, our room decided that TAF would not be sufficient because you wouldn't have sufficient data in TAF to see how it changed. So you would, at a minimum, need at least 1 year of data prior. And then depending on the duration, so since it's July, yeah, you would have to have a state fiscal year worth of data from a previous file.
Yeah, it sounds like most everybody is in agreement on that. So I know we didn't touch too much on how you would combine max and TAF data, but we can certainly put together some resources for that for you, and we'll be talking probably a little bit about it more later as well. So we know we're going to need TAF data, and we probably will need some max TAF data as well, maybe even some more max data. And remember, the max T data, they're going to be in the max format, but T-MSIS with some T-MSIS data underlying it. So if we decided we were going to look at median Medicaid spending per beneficiary, what were some of the topics you looked at to try to decide about data quality to assess that? I can bring up the atlas.
So the Medicaid beneficiary expenditure topic.
Yeah, so we have expenditure benchmarking, and we have Medicaid beneficiary expenditures. So you may have noticed as you were playing around with the DQ Atlas that you do have the ability to look in previous years and also different releases in the years. So there was a question about kind of how much difference is there, and you can look at this. Now, Medicaid beneficiary expenditures is a newer topic, I believe. So we have it for more recent years. We don't have it all the way back to 2016. So that is one issue that we might have. We could try to explore some of the other underlying expenditures, fee-for-service expenditures. There is some information about managed care plans and managed care enrollment as well. For fee-for-service expenditures, we find in Louisiana, we have medium concern. And if we were to look at, what is the source of that concern, if comparing the TAF data to the CMS 64, there are some differences. And we can just see kind of what the total fee-for-service expenditures are. And also someone's commenting that we saw a lot of unclassified results for Louisiana prior to 2016 for total Medicaid expenditures as well. So, and where did you find those, if you don't mind putting that in?
Oh, in total Medicaid expenditures, that indicator.
Okay, yes, yeah.
But we
So if you're
saw it in a
looking-
lot of different indicators.
Sure, yeah. So we do have that sometimes. We have this gray kind of unclassified category, which does make it difficult. You can get some more information if you look at the background and methods that will tell you a little bit more about why a state might be unclassified. So you might find that helpful. And if you want to know a little bit more about how they're doing their benchmarking, you'll get information there as well. So I think this is a pretty useful tool. Did anyone look at eligibility category or age or race, any of that?
I think I was just lucky to figure out some of this in that window.
Yeah, I know it was a very short window we gave you. All right, and then so it looks like some groups did try to look at eligibility category, age, race. Did anybody get? And some groups didn't get that far. This is good to note for future workshops that we can give a lot more time for this exercise. We were kind of trying to do too much at once, I think. But at least now I hope that having this page, you can kind of take a look at some of these things. There is some enrollment benchmarking data, as well as beneficiary information. So that might be where you might look for things like age. Age looks pretty good, right? Across the whole US. Race, there are some more variation by state in terms of concern about the race variables. And again, you can kind of see there's only one category with more than 10% difference in percent of beneficiaries comparing to the American Community Survey, but about 25% or about a quarter of the beneficiaries are missing the information. So you may have a harder time categorizing. And then it sounds like, oh, let's see. One question was if you were going to impute age for 2015, if you have 2016 age. So I don't see a reason why you couldn't. They do, I mean, that's certainly what they were aiming for when they were using the last best information, or actually they're doing it the other way, but they're taking the best information that they have and using that to impute. So you could probably try to assess, you know, if you have age information for some in 2015, does it seem to line up with 2016? So you can do that. And yeah, good question. How would you go about calculating the median for median Medicaid spending per beneficiary? And then, yeah, the population of Medicaid would change, and with expansion, it would be a different population, right? So one of the things you might do in eligibility category, you can say, well, these are the, this is the expansion group. So we're going to look at them separately. And you could try to say between one and the next, which eligibility groups have the same. You may need to be concerned if you're using data with children, that you're making sure that now maybe some CHIP information has been added that you didn't have before. So you're going to want to be sure that you're trying to compare apples to apples. But these are all really great points. And how do you calculate the median when you're looking at median spending per beneficiary? I think that those are all probably, you know, questions that you're going to spend a lot of time on as you're designing your study. The one last thing that we were going to look at is the managed care enrollment. When we look at, we could look at the total Medicaid managed care enrollment. They have these by state, and you can often adjust the time frame. So if we were to check out Louisiana for this, we see that 84% of Louisiana of their Medicaid enrollment is in a comprehensive risk-based managed care. In this case, because we know that the many of the payment fields and charge fields are going to be redacted, we probably aren't going to be able to use the TAF utilization data. Doesn't mean that we can't use other data, but in this particular case, TAF utilization data might be might be more of a struggle if you're trying to look at spending per beneficiary. And then there was a question about why was missingness the only criteria to assess data quality of age and race? Wouldn't you want to check age and race against other data sets? And so I think actually with race, we can double check one of the categories, and I think you have to go into the background and methods so we can see what this looks like. They do actually do a comparison with the ACS 5-year estimates. Again, if you're looking at this, one of the questions earlier was, well, is it actually an individual comparison? It's in this case, I think it is we would expect a certain proportion of the population to be of a certain race, and the actual amount that we're getting in the Medicaid enrollment data is different than what we would expect. So that's one of the criteria that they use. So they are trying to benchmark with a different data set as well. With age, I think it's they might be able to do something like that. They may have, in this case, just chosen, let's see if we have that. They have percentage missing, and then they're making sure that there are beneficiaries in each category. So that's another way, kind of the face validity, making sure that it seems to make sense as it's written. So those are other criteria I think that they are using. But it is true. You wouldn't necessarily want to say, well, if it's missing, then it's no good, because it may be quite good for the people that have it. So I think we're out of time for the exercise, but I really appreciate your participation, and definitely let us know, or we'll be sending out evaluations, so you can certainly let us know what you thought of it. And then there was a question about, can you clarify again why using utilization data for states with high managed care penetration can be okay? And so I think Nate talked about this a little bit. It can be okay. Again, we may want to do a little bit more looking at, here, I don't think, I'll hold off on doing a lot of explanation, but so as Nate was saying, for the ACO that he worked with, they were trying really hard to submit, even though they were a private health plan, to submit the information that the state needed in order to make an accurate determination of their per member per month. So you might hope that in this case that you are going to be getting sufficient information. I don't think that that's necessarily true across the board. I think that that's something that researchers have to be somewhat wary of. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's all not good data either. So I don't know if that's helpful, but feel free to talk with us more about that as well. And I'll answer one more question, then I'll have to turn it over to Nate, I believe. So let's see, this other question is about the ACS respondents who report receipt of Medicaid. And of course, surveys do somewhat, do undercount Medicaid. So the question, is the ACS really a gold standard that we're comparing to? No, it's tarnished, of course. So again, I think the DQ Atlas is really helpful. I also would definitely encourage researchers to do their due diligence and understand exactly what is being measured when we're trying to assess the quality. I don't know, Nate, I kind of went through that really quickly. Do you have anything to add, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, it's important to realize this is not validation, it's benchmarking, right? So if you want to think about, how you would, for instance, try to use an external source of information to help assure yourself of, how confident you can be in these data sources, think about how hard it would be to try to identify a data source. And so, I think, yeah, Steph, I agree with Steph. I would say it's a starting point. That doesn't mean that it is the kind of one final answer, that it's not the kind of gold standard validation. that we would always want. And, so sometimes, you will see validation studies using Medicaid data, but a lot of times those are using things that we do consider to be at least a little bit more of a gold standard, like, health records, EHR type information, that kind of thing. But again, it's hard to do that with a program that's as big and varied as Medicaid. And also a lot of times when I've seen validation, a lot of times it's for algorithms around design, ascertaining diagnoses, and not necessarily about saying, hey, we can really trust these data. Because a lot of times that's not something that gets out there as a big question in peer-reviewed literature. So I think it's a hard thing to do. I think that where we're at with the benchmarking that we have available is just so far beyond, I think, especially given the systematic nature of it, is just so far beyond what I've seen. That combined with all the extra effort in auditing and other things in T-MSIS, it is a good sign, I think, that we can have a little bit more confidence when we say, okay, I'm going to look at this state. It's been benchmarked. I can do my own kind of checking with the data that I have available. But yeah, I mean, any benchmark like that is not going to be ideal. So I think all of those, we want to make sure that we still, critically evaluate. That's when we talk about, for instance, using algorithms to identify diagnoses. In our Medicare workshop, there are many ways that you can use algorithms to identify those. The question is really, how confident can we be? And we get that confidence from all kinds of other sources of information. So it's just kind of, it's a case-by-case basis. It's how useful you think those particular benchmarks are to indicate quality for what you want. And if you feel like there are reasons to look at something else, it's not a rule that people have to use the benchmarked data in the DQ Atlas. But I do think it's a good starting point.